Okay guys, now as you can see, I've got the Marquis in the shop today. I'm going to be doing a few things. What started it all off was it failed smog inspection. I'll get to that in a second, but first I'll show you guys what I got. This is a Purge control valve for the charcoal canister, which is the part that has to be replaced for smog. Basically what this system does is it just recirculates the exhaust, or not the exhaust, but the fuel vapors back into the motor. That's all it does. It's a pretty redundant system if you ask me, but you know, California says it's got to pass that, so I have to replace it. And let's go ahead and get started. Now as you can see, the first thing I've done is I went ahead and disconnected the battery cable, so I'm going to pull out the battery, clear up some space for us. And so what I'm doing now, because there's basically black widow eggs everywhere, is I'm doing this the hard way, and I'm going to be removing the front bumper. So as you guys can see, I've already kind of got it started a little bit. Mag bolts are great tools for loose parts. Use them all the time, so I'm just going to continue removing the front bumper, pulling it back, and if there's any black widows in there, I just saved myself a possible bite. So there it is, that's what I have to get to. And it's directly right here. No easy way to get to it. Can't remove the battery tray to get to it. And so in order to facilitate this, I'm going to go ahead and remove the turn signal lamp. Already unplugged the two lights. And the one retaining that in there. See it right there down there. And that was just to get to this. So maybe I can just pull off half the bumper instead of having to rip off the whole thing. So now that I got that bolt removed, I should just be able to come right off. And I've got some bungee cables here that I'm going to hook up to support it, even though it could probably support its own weight. Don't want to mess anything else up. As you can see, it gives me clear access to it. No spiders anywhere. When you're doing stuff like this, it's really good to look everything else over. And what I've noticed is these two hoses right here, this one's held in by a coupler, and it's got a bend. So basically what it looks like here is, you know, basically from there, you can see that, all the way up to here, this hose is cracked. So thankfully I've got extra hose on hand that I can just splice in, but I'm going to need to go to the auto parts store and probably buy a coupler. The other hose looks okay, but I'll know more once I start taking it out. There's a bolt right here, and so now I'm just going to go ahead and disconnect the other vapor line, which is proving to kind of be a pain in the ass. Go ahead and see if I can pry it. Occasionally you have to do stuff like this. It's really no big deal. There is charcoal dumping all out of this thing. Set that down for a second. Cap's all the way over there. Oh well. So now I'll show you what the inside of this thing looks like and compare to the new one. You guys can't really see that too well, but you can just barely make that out. You'll see that it's very black inside. And it's like a Macarena kind of. But it's definitely black and nasty inside. So this guy needed to be replaced anyways. So now what I'm going to do is I might just cut off this section of hose and go to the auto parts store and get a coupler. Now this is the coupler that I was talking about that I'm going to have to go ahead and replace. I went ahead and cut pretty much all the damaged hose off. So you can kind of see right there, there's some sort of melted point in the hose. It's kind of weird. Maybe that's where some of the problem was coming from. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the auto parts store, get a new coupler, and see if I can find a new elbow as well. Now the next step for the charcoal canister is I have to craft another piece of hose to fit around the top. This part fits on the big nipple. So I'm going to go ahead and shove this thing in. It's just a coupler, as well as the other side into the smaller bit. It goes onto the hose that goes to the fuel tank. So I'm going to have to shorten this up a little bit, put another coupler on it so I can link it up to the hose that's already in there. And so now with the new canister, I'm just going to go ahead and put it back where it was supposed to be. I had to take off those 2 caps off the old one and put them on the new one because they were not included. So in order to do that, you have your little bit down here, and it literally just is supposed to slide in place. Like so. So now I just got to put the retaining bolt in. Make sure it's down and secured all the way before then it goes to the outside one, or the inside one rather. And then this one, I've got to get under the car and hook it up. Make sure all the bits of the hose are in and secured. Job's done. Now I just got to put everything back together. Now that everything's all connected, there's no need for the bumper to be off anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and put everything back together, starting with lining everything back up. It is kind of a pain in the ass to do this. There is just and the first one that's going to go back in is this one, which goes on the side. It was the hardest one to get out and probably going to be the hardest one to get back in. So I'm going to go ahead and cinch it back together. Go ahead and put this bolt back in. Now that that's back in place, you can go ahead and hook the lens back up. Put it back in place like so. Now I just have to go ahead and secure the nut to it. That's what makes these great. Just reach in, grab it with your magnet. Make sure you have your right socket. Grab your socket wrench. Make sure everything's tight and secure. Reinstall your lens screw. And now I just need to reinstall all the connecting hardware to the bottom of the bumper. And that's it for the charcoal canister job. And so I just went ahead and changed the purge control valve as well, as you can see right here. It's no big deal. Just pretty much took the old one out, plugged this one in, plugged the 2 lines in. And then there you go. So that one was really easy to do.